Ramadan Mubarak. It's amazing how quickly Ramadan goes by. It's like just the other day, it was Ramadan, you know? Now we're a week in and it's just sailing along, you know? I really like Ramadan because it gives me a chance to reset all the mad habits that I've picked up over the year. It gives you a chance to reset and just get back to one, back to basics, back to unity with, you know, with the earth, with your surroundings, with what you're supposed to be doing. It's a reminder, it's all great. So Ramadan Mubarak for all those who are engaging in the fast. It's all good. Yeah. I thought I'd do an upload today because I haven't done one for a bit. And I've got some notes down here. I actually got some notes, like a newsreader. I've got some notes. Hopefully I can stick to them. And I really wanted to talk about how things are going around here, you know, with the world situation. I don't know if you can say the word, the world thing that's causing everything to just, business is flatlining. Photography in particular, video, multiple media in particular, you know, things around here are just flat. You got all this gear sitting on the shelf. And we're wondering, you know, when we're going to get to use these things again, when we're going to be able to wield Excalibur with intent. You know, it's pretty serious. You know, I laugh, but it is pretty serious. I'm thinking, where do I go from here? You know, because I'm not sure if things are going to change. This is the new normal, it seems. You know, photography was already shrinking. You know, pro photography world, the market was shrinking anyway. People don't really want to pay for photographs that they can take on their phone or video that they can take on their phone. Events, you know, well, there's no events going on at the moment, but, you know, people live stream stuff on their phone. So, you know, it's hard work getting clients today. You know, I get 1 or 2 calls and people are really picky now, you know, and they want the best. They want to make sure if they're going to pay you money, you know what you're doing. You got to have your examples, what do you call it? When you show people, they want to see your work. They want to see work that you've done before to prove you are who you say you are. So things are getting pretty rough around here, and I've had to diversify in the time where things are flatlining. So I'm selling zines. That's been pretty, well, not brilliant, but it's something to move into, you know, something kind of different. Still in the photography world, in that genre, but yeah, it's getting really tough, and even in this time of economic downturn, the big brands are still releasing cameras, which is quite surprising. They're still releasing these 100 megapixel cutting edge technology and thrusting it upon us. And I'm not sure who's buying all this stuff, but if there's not work, I'm sure somebody's, you know, bathing in the work, as we would say, but it's not around here. So you got these YouTube channels, these gear channels that every day I look online and I see them pushing these latest cutting edge technology, and it makes me think, it makes me wonder, you know, this game has to burst. It can't continue. It has to burst. Because if we're spending thousands, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, I heard the R3's coming out, you know, Canon's bringing out the R3, probably £6,000. Where's all that money coming from? Things are going to bust, you know, kind of like the Super League thing. I don't know if you heard about the Super League thing. Big 6 football teams in the UK wanted to join this Super League and leave behind the rest of the league for all this money. Everyone's on a money chase, a money hustle, and it's collapsed in a couple of days because it's just not, the fans weren't having it, and, you know, they spoke up, and big up the fans, you know, to bring normality, a sense, a level of normality back to our environment. So, yeah, the photo market is shrinking, and YouTube channels are hyping stuff, and, you know, we have to find something to bide our time. So street photography is my thing. It's always been my thing to relax, to take my mind off stresses, to get me out and reconnect with people out on the street. Because you connect visually, you connect even momentarily, you know, just out there with my ting, my little M50. This is my runaround, street photography runaround camera that I have with me every single day. And yeah, the recreational photography is what's got me to this point during this global situation, this global crisis. And selling zines is keeping me just bobbing along nicely. So that's where I am. Now, so the mirrorless thing and the DSLR thing, look at this. Because these are what I'm using now to do street photography. Those of you who have been following along the channel have seen some of the videos that we've done when I go out with the group, my photography group, that we go out with and take photos. And some of you might be just getting into street photography and you want to get into street photography and I'm wondering what cameras to buy. And I'm going to give you my little slant on it, right? Because the M50, which I've had for 3 years, got this in 2018. The M50 is my most used camera of all the cameras I have. I have 5D, 6D, 7D, got a couple of 70Ds. But this is my most used camera. I use this virtually every day. When I go shops, I've got this around my neck on a little strap, and I'm doing my little opportunist street photography. It's very small. Look how small this is. It can fit into the palm of your hand. I've done so many reviews on this, but this camera, I love this camera. This camera has really not changed my life, but, well, in a sense, it has, because with my big 5Ds, I couldn't carry this every day. I tried carrying this every day. 1 year, I think it was 2017, for the 2017, I carried this around and it really did my back in. The weight of it is so heavy, it just couldn't work. It's a brilliant camera, but for street photography, for what I wanted it for, And a lot of people are leaning towards these Fuji cameras. When you talk about street photography, the name Fuji comes up a lot because Fuji are pretty smart. Yeah, they're producing these little cameras with these street photography lenses. They know that there's a genre there, and it seems like they're aiming at those street photographers. So they're pretty smart. Canon's a bit stupid. Canon with the M50, the top selling mirrorless camera. I don't know if it still is, but it was a top selling mirrorless camera 2018, 2019, I think it was. This little thing here, this. But they haven't got the lenses. They have not produced the lenses that our street photographers like. I mean, they have some of the lenses, but the 32 is a pretty good lens if you shoot 50mm. The 22 is a brilliant lens if you shoot 35mm. But I've had to go back to the kit lens. It's not big, but in terms of, I haven't got my 22 over here. In terms of street photography lenses, this is a pretty big lens to be honking around on your chest all day long. You know, because remember, I carry this every day. But what I like about this lens here, this 18 to 55, is it has all the street photography focal lengths on there. 18mm is 28, which is my favorite street photography focal length. 24 is 35. 50 is 85. Well, 35 is 50. So you got all the street photography focal lengths on here. I would prefer if it was a little pancake with a 28. That would just suit me fine. But I'm finding, I've gone full circle in my photography, and I'm finding that 18 to 55 is the perfect street photography lens to fit on this little M50, which is the smallest, lightest street photography camera. Well, not with this lens on it, but with the 22. Let me get the 22 weight right there. Here we go. This is a 22. Look at this little pancake lens. I'm going to put it on. But it becomes a very small, lightweight operation with this on. Yeah. See how small that is? Look at that. So when you've got this around your neck all day, you don't even feel it. It's around your neck all day. Something happens, you just, and then you put it back there and you get on with what you're doing. If Canon had released the 18mm, which is the 28 equivalent, this size, that would be it for me. That would be it. That would be it. But what they seem to be doing is producing these longer and longer and longer lenses. You've got the R5 and the R6, and they've got the RF lenses, and they're huge. They're out here, it's almost like a zoom lens. It's like this. What is that about? So Fuji are going in the right direction. Canon, if they're smart, they would catch up and give us the lenses that we want for the M series. I'm hearing they're talking about discontinuing the M series. This is an economic downturn. People don't want to be spending a whole heap of money on cameras. This, I'm telling you, this is a very, 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 very good street photography camera. Very good. So, yeah. Thumbs up. Now, which do I prefer? Because sometimes when I go out, particularly when I go out with my photography group, I prefer to use a DSLR. I'm using this 6D Mark II. And you can see, if you look, it's got a little vintage lens, the Chinon vintage lens on, yeah. I just love these vintage lenses, manual focus lenses. Once you learn how to zone focus, you don't want to go back. It's just so much easier than these lenses with no focal markings on them. They're focused by wire, so you can't turn it and set it. You've got to look through it. You've got to power it up and look through it and set it, focus it on something, and lock the focus off onto manual and all heap of madness. It works, but you cannot beat these markings. I don't know if you can see that on there. These focus markers. You can just set this thing on the barrel and you don't even have to look. So I actually prefer using a DSLR for street photography over a mirrorless. The mirrorless is good, it's great, but because it's on all the time, the screen has to be on all the time. And as you can see at the back, you see that? It's on. So it's just burning current around your neck. So you got to carry a whole heap of batteries because this is not going to last long. There is a little standby mode that you can put the M50 into, and it will shut off. If you have a look, it'll go black in about 3 or 4 seconds, or it should go black in 3 or 4 seconds. Goes into standby mode. There you go. Goes into standby mode. Is it gone off? The minute you touch something, it comes back on again. But it goes into a standby mode, which can save you some battery time. But if something happens immediately, you have to wake it up. You've got to wake your camera up before it can take the picture. So I've missed shots because something has happened instantaneously. I've had to wake the camera up and the screen's still black and I can't see nothing and I'm waiting for it to come on. I've realized that it will fire. It will fire with the screen black, but you can't see what you're actually shooting until it comes on. So I've missed shots because of that. You don't get that problem with the optical viewfinder. The viewfinder in the 62 is just a piece of glass. You look through and you're looking through the lens. So when things happen really quickly, I've got it. I've got it. You know, I don't even have to look. I've got it. I press that button, press the shutter button, and I've got it. So I prefer the DSLR on the street over the mirrorless. I prefer the size of the mirrorless with these little lenses. But once you start putting the bigger lenses on, and then even though this is an M lens, it's still quite, well, not big, but look at it in comparison to the vintage. Let me take this off. I take off this thing so you can see when I talk about. Yeah. So I'm not going mad. Look at this. Here's a vintage. This is an M lens. The M lens, which is the supposedly small, for the small cameras, the small M cameras. Look at the vintage. Look how small it is in comparison. This is 28 millimeter. This is 18 to 55. It is a zoom. And this is the smallest. This is the smallest M zoom lens. For me to get to 28 millimeters, this is the smallest lens that I can use on the M system. There is nothing smaller than this for me to get to 28 millimeter, which is what I want to use, 28 millimeter. I can use the pancake lens, which is smaller, but that's 35 millimeter. This is 35 equivalent. It's 22, 35 equivalent. Canon do not make an 18 millimeter, which would be a 28 equivalent for the M50. So I have to use this, which I actually prefer using this anyway, because I know when they do, even if they did bring out a 28 millimeter version, it's not going to have no markings on it. It's just going to be black. So it seems like I prefer vintage lenses over modern lenses when it comes to street photography. And it seems like I prefer DSLR with a mirror in it over mirrorless, the modern technology that's supposed to be taken over from DSLR when it comes to street photography. And that's interesting because I keep hearing that DSLRs are dead. I keep hearing that DSLRs are dead. And I don't believe they are dead. And I don't believe they will die. I think there's some marketing mumbo jumbo conspiracy thing going on to make us want to ditch this in order to get this. The experience of shooting on the street with the 6D2 is way better, way more satisfying to me, than using the mirrorless. I love the mirrorless. Don't get me wrong. I love this camera. This is the camera I've used the most in all the years that I've had cameras. I've used this camera because I use it every single day. But this, when I get to use this, man, I'm telling you, it just does something. The shutter sound, the optical viewfinder, you know, the instantaneousness of it. You know, the battery in this will last days. And I'm not joking, days. If I use this just for street photography, days. This camera here, this 62 Mark II, is, to me, my perfect street photography camera. For me, that's just my opinion. So don't go mad. The DSLR thing is what it's all about. And the vintage lens thing is what it's all about. The vintage lenses, as I said, it will train you to see distance, to work out distance. You'll look and you'll say, right, that person over there, they're 15 foot away. They're like 20 foot. It will train you that. That's what the vintage lenses do. The modern lenses, you just click, autofocus, click, 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 click. And it would seem faster. You would imagine the autofocus to be faster, but it's not. Once you know your distances, I can be focusing my camera, getting it to the right distance while it's on my hip, while it's on my shoulder. Just looking at the barrel. Got it. You know, the autofocus has to focus with the modern lens. It's got to, you know, there's a millisecond or a microsecond or whatever it is for it to lock. Otherwise it won't fire. So, yeah, I just wanted to come and talk about that because I've been experiencing it more and more over the, you know, this recreational period where we've been going out and shooting street photography. And yeah, I just wanted to put out my view because I know a lot of people are in a position where things are flatlined and maybe they want to take up street photography. Maybe they're a landscapist or maybe they are a portrait photographer or something else. And a lot more people are getting into street photography. When we're out with the group, I'm seeing a lot more people than I never used to see that amount of people. And people are out with their camera and they've got some big hench, you know, some big hench cameras with some big hench lenses out there. I don't know how they do it. You know, they got this around their neck. I mean, some of the guys in our group, you know who you are, right? They're out there with some big hench gear. Good on them. They got strength. But me, that did my back in. So that's a warning. That did my back in 2017. It was this camera here, a 5D Mark II, and this lens did my back in, 24 to 70. It's a good lens. But for street photography, you want to take care of your health, trust me. Because once that back goes, that's not an easy thing to heal. So the little cameras, yeah, it's all good. It's all about the little cameras. The mirrorless are all nice, the little Fujis. The little small Fujis. When you weigh a Fuji, in comparison to M50, the Fuji weighs a ton. That sounds like a rap. My Fuji weighs a ton. Public Enemy, wasn't it? My Fuji weighs a ton. A Fuji weighs a ton in comparison to this camera. I gave this camera to a guy who shoots Fuji because I wanted him to take a picture. And he's like, whoa, this is, the weight is almost non-existent. This, Canon, if you're listening, this is a bad boy camera that you bought out. But you don't seem to understand it. You don't seem to get it. And especially in this zone that we're in now. This flatline zone. This, proper things. And they're pretty cheap as well. You can get these for about 550 quid now. No, that's how much I bought it for, 550 quid. You could probably get it for less than that, especially used. So if you're looking, if you're, you know, don't want to spend a lot of money, I'm telling you, this is the way to go. I cannot sing the praises of this camera enough, the M50. You just want to try it out. But if you've already got DSLR, if you already got one, try out the vintage lenses because look how small they are. You see how small? So it makes this package a lot easier to manage. It's still not as light as the M50, but compared to the 5D with the big 2470, I mean, yeah, 2470, look at it. Look at that. 6D Mark II with a vintage lens, 5D, 2470. This one, I'm telling you, it's all good. I'm going to put some pictures up because I like putting pictures up. What else have I got to do? Flatline, remember? So I'm going to put some pictures up of some of the images. And I think most of them were taken with most of the ones I'm going to put up were taken with the M50. But, you know, it doesn't really matter, you know, what camera you use, especially nowadays. The qualities of them are all good. So that little war thing that we used to do, I think that's history now. It's history. Anyway, it is what it is. Hopefully you've learned something, even if you're, really experienced in photography. Hopefully you've learned something from us today. 18 to 55. Don't shun it, This has always been seen as a kit lens. Little kit lens. Rubbish kit lens, chuck it away. In fact, the first lens that I bought when I got my 50D in 2013 was an 1855 kit lens. And I went to a shop down Tottenham Court Road. Very, high spec pro photography shop down Tottenham Court Road. They're all gone now. I don't think there's any photography shops in Tottenham Court Road. But I went to this shop and I said I wanted to buy 18 to 55 kit lens for my 50D. And they wouldn't sell it to me. The guy behind the counter said, no, you don't. No, that's a rubbish lens. 18 to 55 kit is a rubbish lens. I ain't going to sell you this. And he pulled out some big hench lens. This is what you need. I said, no, I just want an 18 to 50. He said, no, I'm not selling it to you. That's what he actually said. I'm not selling it to you. I ended up having to go across the road to some little Dixon's or whatever it was to buy it because the pro photography shop wouldn't sell me the lens. Because he said, it's a rubbish lens and I'm going to outgrow it in 2 months or something like that. Some nonsense like that. Listen to me, people. 18 to 55, I've gone full circle. 18 to 55 was my first lens. Then I got 24-70. Then I got 70 to 200. Yeah. Then what did I get after that? 135 and all the other lenses that I've come across and used, and they're all good, but this is where I'm back to now. Back to basics. 1855. This lens is a bad lens. Bad meaning good. Anyway, I've gone on enough. Remember to subscribe, because YouTube's doing some crazy stuff now. If you don't subscribe and if you don't click the like, your videos just disappear into the algorithms, just, cross them out. It's like we've been crossed out basically because me and my 13 subscribers are not clicking that button. So get clicking the button and get commenting in the comments. That's if you want to see some more from the life and times of the multiple media manager man, If not, I'll just go and do something else. I've got plenty of other things to do. Got my trumpet practicing. How do you think it's going? How do you think I'm progressing? It's taking its time, but I've got my trumpet and some other stuff. So anyway, talk soon. Zoom. Done.